All right, folks, let me just test. Okay, I should be heard. All right, first we're going to go over a little housekeeping today. I apologize that I haven't sent out the emails for the groups yet. And so before I go on, I just wanted to quickly show you that the groups have been set up and that I will be sending out the groups this afternoon. So you'll get an email with your group members and you'll have their email addresses as well, okay? Because I'm trying to lean into getting all of these things graded by tomorrow, I've been stuck on a few things. So you'll get this tomorrow. The position paper for your group will be due next Tuesday, all right? Next Tuesday and Thursday, I will not be here. And I will probably have recorded sessions, okay?
Wait, I'm sorry. So the position paper is due next Tuesday, the 16th?
Right, you would turn it in next Tuesday. That's correct, the 16th.
Okay, thank you.
But just turn it in anytime that day. That'll be your assignment for next Tuesday. I won't be here, but I'll have a Zoom recording. And I'll have one recording on Thursday as well. So there won't be any live sessions next week. I have family things I need to go take care of. So let me now talk once more about the position paper so that we're all on the same wavelength again. So as I talked about the position paper, if you remember, it is a strongly worded statement and it is to be plus or for or against the statement itself. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you that statement and it's listed on the website, okay? And so you see position paper 1 on conflict, open it up. And this is what the statement is. So the statement is for you as an individual. This is alluding to chapter 5 about conflict. And so it says, I really don't like conflict. I try to avoid it whenever I get the chance. However, I am the district manager, one step from an executive vice president. I'm being asked to represent my company today in a very difficult meeting with an upstream supplier, so that's someone above you, who demands big concessions from us to carry a new line. Should I ask to let someone else do this because I'm not good at this and may fail? What is the reason to accept this kind of conflict? And so what I want you to do as your group, with your very first sentence, I want you to say, based upon whatever you wish to give, that I wish that I agree, that I wish someone else would do this, or say, no, I'm going to do it myself, even with all of these. The remaining 600 words, whatever you have left, I want you to devote to me the logic behind your assumption, okay? And so conflict can be normal, conflict can be good, conflict can bring out things in a functional way. All of the arguments that Shelby Hunt made, all of those kind of things are good or no. I'm afraid this will lead into manifest conflict, which will make it bad. Manifest means that organized behaviors against each other, all of those kinds of things. anything that states from your work, the knowledge, the scholarship that you've gained so far, all adds up to reasons why. And you can use your book as a source, okay? So, I mean, as I showed you how to do the APA style, look in that APA style in Word, and you can put in a book, and that is a way of using that as a source, okay? As I said before, more sources means higher grade. Simple as that, okay? I mean, you don't have to give me 12 or 14 sources of it. If you do, that'd be an awesome paper, okay? But what I mean is that I want you to show me that you've done the diligence and the scholarship to warrant this grade that I'm going to give you, okay? And as I said before, position paper is a strongly worded statement, yes or no, okay? No, I'm not going to ask someone else. This is part of what position is. Conflict is a normal thing. There's the expectation also for the possibility of no, yes, I need someone else to do it. I don't feel competent enough to do this. Given the difficulties and the experiences, you've got to give me something solid, okay? This will be due next Tuesday, and you'll have all day to turn it in. Okay. All right. Now, I'm finishing grading points. I'm going to give you the chance, if you want to pick up a couple other bonus points. The student chapter of the American Marketing Association, the AMA, is going to have a meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. And the meeting will be actually held here in Holland Fellows, or it will be on a Zoom meeting, and I'm going to send everyone the link. For those of you who don't know, the American Marketing Association is a really awesome body for you, especially as students when you're just getting out. If you have membership in the AMA, that first year, you have access to all of their job helps and their job searches, and it's just an awesome thing to do. Plus, the AMA membership gives you advantages as you go on through the years. And so one of the ways I want to urge you is, even if you can't come, all right, I'd love to have you on a Zoom meeting, because I think it's important for you to get this, really these ideas. And I will be willing, if you're online tomorrow night, to give you 2 bonus points on the test, okay? So what are you doing for an hour anyway on a Wednesday night? Besides shoving towels in the doors. Anyway, I mean, why not, okay? So if you come here, if you'd like to, we'll have pizza, okay? So the officers will be here. If you want to be part of the AMA membership, that's great. Coming up April 8th and 5th is the International AMA Convention. It'll be online, so it'll be virtual and you can attend. There's a couple of things going on. We're going to have a t-shirt contest, and we've always done pretty well with that. And then also what they're going to do is they'll have a TikTok video, a 10-second TikTok video from every chapter actually across not just the United States, but everywhere. So they're going to talk about putting that together as well. So I'll send you an email with all of that stuff, but I want you to think about it, because I want you to think about your futures too. I mean, we're all kind of have our head in the clouds right now, but this could also be a very good thing for especially you juniors that are marching into your senior year, because hopefully we're not going to be doing this anymore, and we're all going to be here together. And I think it would be a great chance for any of you to have this as a step up into your future careers, okay? Okay, so thanks for listening. All righty, and so now we're going to go on and we'll talk about retailing. Thank you much for listening. Okay. So, for those of you who kind of wondered about supermarkets in general when I talk about them, supermarkets are actually one of the largest of all of the retailers, are actually one of the, oh gosh, next to driving, is one of the largest employers in the United States, with sales of $701 billion, with 38,000 stores across the United States. The interesting thing, if you look at a supermarket, their net profit is 1%. So just think about that, okay? The average retail store generates $65,000 a day, and 1% is profit. So just to give you an idea of what it takes to survive in that, okay? So kind of a couple of things I wanted to square out when we're going down here. A traditional supermarket has anywhere from 15,000 to 16, they say SKUs, which are selling units, okay? So that's how they classify everything that they sell in a supermarket. Usually what that also means is that the supermarkets have some form of delis and those kind of things. And the reasons why you have delis and why, you know, I kind of ask you to go to those delis is that's where they make 35 to 40% of their profits. They don't make it on the things that they sell for others. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out to you because it kind of dovetails directly with our discussion of retailing, which is actually kind of a very fascinating subject if you're a nerd like me, and I think it should be to you as well. Now, you're probably wondering yourself, how do you even define retailing? Because what makes the difference between a retailing sale versus perhaps a sale that would be considered a wholesale? So a retail sale is considered a retail sale by the buying motive. A retail sale is considered a retail sale by the buying motive, the ultimate motives of the buyers themselves. In a retail sale, the buyer who buys it for their own personal consumption defines whether it's a retail sale or not. If I take that purchase, let's say I go into a Staples, and I go into Staples and I buy a PC, and I buy that PC for my personal use as a student or as a teacher, that would make it a retail sale, okay? If I were to buy that very same laptop and I were going to use that in the production or use, whether a direct or indirect expense towards the making of a different product, that would be considered a commercial sale. And it would be, generally when we're talking retailer, we're talking B2C, business to consumer, okay? The buyer being the ultimate motives, the ultimate motive coming from the buyer, it means that the buyer is the ultimate consumer. And so this is the definition of retailing. Activities involved in the selling of goods to ultimate consumers for personal or household consumption. Nail that in your heads, okay? That's exactly what that's what retailing is, okay? So this part in the book, they talk some things about the different types of retailers. And personally, I don't have the target fascination that the Palmentier does. And there's some things that I'm not necessarily caring whether you have. And of course, the big question you're asking yourself, is it going to be on the test, which is what every student should want? My answer is no, all right? So you probably won't have a question in there, what's the difference between a supermarket and a warehouse or a department store? I'm not going to really care about those things. Now I will want you to know what a convenience goods store is. And interestingly enough, I only consider a convenience store to be important enough because convenience stores in many ways are literally almost the lifeblood of especially small to medium-sized industry. Convenience stores are for convenience goods such as staples, which you must buy every day or every other day, such as milk, bread, or whatever, or that they look for the most convenient location. Now, I should also say something about emergency goods too, where you're really not caring where you are. I was surprised last month. I was in a torrential downpour when I was going to see my dad, and I popped into a convenience store, and of all things, they had umbrellas, and I was just stunned, okay? And so that would be an example of an emergency good you might see at a convenience store, but most likely not, okay? So we all know this, that the big players are Amazon, QVC as non-store retailers, and Walmart is not only very dominant, they're still extremely dominant. I believe Amazon, it was a last word, got to like $90 billion in annual sales. Walmart is $460 million, all right? So Walmart worldwide has 2.6 million employees, 1.6 million in the United States. They're the largest employer right after the United States government. I mean, that just gives you an idea how powerful and dominant they are. And what's interesting is that you see Walmart starting to get into the omni-channel race, and it is one of the blurring trends that you're seeing. And what you also find that is interesting is that Amazon is getting into the retail trade. So why? Test question coming up, okay? So the first is that online and physical retailing tends to get blurred in the age of the omni-channel. It constitutes a channel, and what happens, of course, is because, you know, there is cannibalism from one particular channel to the next. The omni-channel, in essence, facilitates that, but the constraints also create interesting possibilities, okay, as consumers shift back and forth. Now, the one thing that we do know from research, why Walmart is getting into the online seriously, I mean, for the last 6 years, and why Amazon has gotten seriously into the retail is the last line. Omni-channel sales, that includes every channel, which means retailing, bricks and clicks, online, as multiple ways as you can deliver, have higher sales than online only. And so, as I said before, omni-channel means delivery to your home, going into a store and picking those goods that you ordered online, going to the store, not getting out of your car and having the goods put in your car. All of those are examples of the omni-channel, and it is the big reason, the only reason really, why Amazon decided to jump in and go and retail in a big way, okay? All right, so that's the big thing to know about trends. Excuse me. I find this slide very funny to me because I started writing about social shopping in 2009. No, 2007, okay? What it shows is that they talk about it as a trend is that you have two perceptual categories where product and service retailing can be associated with mundane chores, okay? But you also have retail being perceived as fulfilling experiences. And I wrote about social shopping, like I said, in 2007, you know, the whole concept of shopping partners, where, and it is not a phenomenon located on any unique demographics. Everybody goes to shop with friends. And not only that, but there's a substantial increase in both time and money spent when you go with friends. Has anyone been to David's Bridal with a friend? Anybody online? I don't think anybody here has. Okay, when you go, you're usually going to go with 4 people or more. When you go, you will usually be given champagne or wine. Usually you will be encouraged to try anything you wish, and usually it's going to be 3 hours or so, all right? And depending on how well you do, you'll probably find a dress. My wife found 4. I'm not kidding you, all right? So this is when we were getting married. Apparently you had a dress to get married in, a dress to take pictures in, a dress to trash, or, like go jump in the lake or whatever. And I don't know what the other one was for. Maybe she give it to my daughter. I don't know. But anyway, this is an example, all right? Is that, yes, there are modern shifts, but this shift's been going on. Once again, I think everybody thinks they're the smartest in the room and they're saying this is something new. And you know what? It's been going on forever. All right. So, retail positioning strategies, all right? All right, now, I'm gonna put this on just for a second. I got the sniffles. No, I don't have COVID. That's what my wife asks me every day. You have COVID now? So, how do you make money at retail? Okay, what's the way to do it? Okay, profit is either somehow is sales over expenses. There's no magic to it, folks. It's accounting 101, all right? It's sales over expenses. And so if we're looking at this, okay, if we're looking at sales over expenses, there's only 2 ways to make a profit, and that is increase sales or decrease expenses or costs. And so this is one of those things where in the just-in-time kinds of talking about supply chain, where through all of what we've been through the last year, we kind of got caught a little, okay? Because we focused a lot on both of these at the same time. And if we're reducing our expenses by cutting inventory and increasing our sales by offering wider selection, something's got to give, okay? And ultimately, that's what happened. So, having looked at this, let's talk about which positioning strategy you did. And so sales can be considered demand side, expenses can be considered cost side. And so what we do as a retailer is we manipulate either of these things that we can, okay? So let's talk about the most basic of cost side strategies. In a high retailing system, whatever you wish to call it, Gap, all of those others, diamond stores, margins are higher, but turnover is lower, which also means this: if your turnover is lower, it means that the goods that you must sell must appreciate in value and not depreciate. That's another thing. In a low price retailing, you have low margins, high inventory turnover, and generally minimal service levels. Now, I say that generally because there are many stores who do what they can for service, but the truth of the matter is, and especially now is that it's at a pretty low level, all right? usually what you look for in the low margin, high turnover model is you look at high efficiencies, okay? You look at more efficient ways of doing things, lowering your inventory, okay? Maximizing the amount of dollar that you have on your inventory. And generally, you pass those savings on to the consumer because if you're not, your competition is. And that's one of the vagaries. But as you notice, passing savings usually entails some kind of transfer. So as we talked about with Costco, you get cheaper prices, but consumers take on certain channel functions, such as breaking bulk and storage. And so I'm going to show you, I'm going to go through this, and I want to go to this slide because it's a little bit easier to understand, all right? There is a idea that's called the strategic profit model that proposes retailers need to manage either the margins or their assets. Okay, so either the goods that I have, the actual inventory, or the money that I make for each good that I sell, okay? And so that means I have three things I look at. I look at the margins, what I make on each thing I sell, the turnover rate. Does everyone know what turnover means, by the way? Turnover, if you haven't really heard it defined, I have $1,000 of goods in inventory at the beginning of the year. I sell those $1,000 worth of goods in a year. My turnover rate is 1. That's what it means, okay? Any turnover rate over 1 is considered okay. A turnover rate below 1 is dangerous because what it means is that you have goods on the shelf that aren't being sold. So what you're hoping for is you're wanting to have turnover rates as high as possible. Now, I want you to also think about that. The whole concept of just in time is that you have nothing on the shelves, and that just as you're reaching for that good, the shipper comes in, sits that good on the table, and you grab it at the moment the consumer wants it, all right? That's what just in time means. Or in the very same function when you're talking about supply chain and making a manufacturing good, and there's a car being made right here, and just as I'm reaching to put the tire on the car, the tire gets slapped into my hand by the supplier and I put it right on. Now just think of it this way, the inventory never sits. That tire never sits in my inventory. It just goes from one place to the next. And when this started going through in the 70s and 80s, folks, it caused a revolution. You have no idea. Just in time is actually an American idea. We didn't borrow it, okay? And just in time, just to give you an example, there's a small motor maker by the name of Briggs & Stratton, United States, small motors. Briggs & Stratton every day has the liquid metal delivered to them from a foundry so that they never have any raw materials and goods when they make their motors. So that's kind of an idea how cool this stuff is, okay? And so just in time totally rethought everything we're doing, okay? And now, of course, in a time of really bad, now we're starting to see the idea of evolve from just in time to just in case. And you people in supply chain, when you go on, you'll talk about that a lot. Financial leverage, by the way, is the amount of assets you have in relationship to inventory, okay? And so what that means is that how much inventory is dragging the rest of my money down, okay? And so I don't have, if I have $1 million in inventory and I have $1,100,000 in assets, that $1 million is dragging the money, the assets that I have to invest, okay? And that's one of the things that's really important to understand. when you go into accounting, if you haven't, or you go into finance, they're gonna probably talk to you about something called the quick ratio, okay? The quick ratio means the liquid assets versus accounts receivable, accounts payable and inventory, which basically means this: can I pay every single bill that I have? And if the quick ratio is below 0.6, you're in trouble. If you're below 0.99, you're in trouble. Anyway, I'm going off, but I want you to understand these three components are extremely important for these positioning strategies. All right, now that I've talked too much, these are the three, and I'm going to explain them one at a time. They're GIMROI, GIMROL, and GIMROS, all right, if you're into acronyms. So let me get to a slide that makes sense. GIMROI is gross margin percentage times the sales over inventory. What is the return on the investment to inventory? The gross margin, of course, is how much money do I make from my sales. And so if my sales is 20 million and it costs me 100 million to make that, it's 0.2. Now here's the problem, all right? The chewing up of assets to make money is inefficient. And so the key thing to understand about GIMROI is that you want to reduce the average inventory you have because that's a drag. And so what are the practical ways that you reduce inventory? One of them is you use electronic data interchange, which basically you have links between the manufacturers and the retailers. You start just-in-time shipments, just as I said, so that reduce the total number of inventory, okay? You do other things. So you keep limited connections to your suppliers. You have year-long contracts that they fill in lots, okay? These are examples of you become more efficient at the inventory. Now, gross margin only accounts for the cost of goods sold, all right? So it's exactly what it says, like what goes directly into the factors of production to get this good out. And so gross margin, return on inventory investment is basically where Walmart lives, okay? They have, I mean, I can't say they have the single best supply chain in the world, but a lot of people study it, okay? So they got to be doing something right. So, GIMROI. The next is gross margin per full-time equivalent employee, GIMROL. And so the key behind this thought is that when the retailer's goals are to optimize sales, and so let me give you an idea. It's Christmas. There's people that come in the store and they're standing around because nobody's there to take care of them. The retailers are doing as much money hand over fist than they possibly can. We also know this, is that that particular retailer, whichever one you want to call it, has certain fixed costs. Those are total costs that never change, such as rent, utilities, advertising, general and administrative expenses that don't decrease. They stay fixed. That's why they're fixed costs. And so what this says is this, is if I can add one more employee in the mix, if I could put one more person on the floor, one more person behind the counter, one more person at the checkout line, that additional person with every likelihood will add to sales. Now, it might lower the average percentage sales for employees. And so if you go, you're at 50,000 in a month with 10 employees, and you put 20 employees, 80 employees, and it goes to 70,000, the per unit sales per employee will go down. But overall profitability will jump. And there are benefits that go in with it as well. And so this is another way that you try to manipulate one of those numbers. Gross margin per full-time equivalent employee. Get rolled. And the last, but not least, is gross margin per square foot, gross. And so what this means is you generate as much revenue per square centimeter on a floor as you possibly can. Walmart was doing this in the 90s to the point where you're getting cramped. And then somebody got the bright idea that Target was doing it better. And Walmart knows a good idea when they steal one, and so they started spreading the shelves out. What I find to be interesting is that most supermarkets found a way around this by making them shelves 2 feet higher, as if you could grab it. Okay, so what they want to do, and this is especially another thing you do in a Walmart, is you speed up inventory replenishment. You speed the process, the velocity increases. And so by earning sufficient margin on the fixed costs, you're sitting out there putting as many of those units out as you possibly can. Now, there are other ways of doing it, such as fixed cost investments, but the problem is it's like everything in channels. Everything in channels requires a substantial cost and substantial lead times as well. And so while there's many other ways to raise money, these are some of the simpler ones and they work. So gross margin per square foot. Interesting. The highest gross margin per square foot in the world of any retail outlet, no question, are Apple stores. Apple stores have the highest gross margin per square foot by far, and that includes diamond stores, okay? And they pay their people flat salary. But they give fancy names, which I guess that's some kind of thing. Okay, folks, we're gonna get out early today. We're finished with that little piece of retailing. I will hopefully, I'm really working on this because I got too many things are in the fires right now, but hopefully I'll have your grades by Wednesday. For those of you who tune in tomorrow night, Thursday, you'll get your 2% bump, not 2%. Well, yeah, it is. There are 104 points on the test. It's graded on a 100-point system, okay? So just to let you know, clear that up, okay, folks? All right, y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Professor Schaus,
Yes.
I had that fishing tournament last weekend, and you told me to give you a recap after this week once I got back.
Yeah, how'd it go, Trevor?
It went pretty good. It was a lot of boats in it. 263 different college teams.
Was Auburn Montgomery there? Just curious.
I seen Auburn. I didn't see Auburn Montgomery.
That's fine. I was curious. How'd you do?
We caught a limit both days. We finished, I think, 124th out of 263, but we had 4 boats travel, and I think our top boat finished in the low 90s or something.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, those are hard competitions. I know the guys that were in that stuff, and You know, you're not just gonna go waltz in and pick out the biggest one, so good for you. Congratulations, man. Well, great. Well, look, let me know when the next one comes along. I really want to know, okay?
Sure will. Thank you. You have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. Yes, class Thursday.